The dog stopped so abruptly that the leash went slack. For a breathless second, the old station seemed to hold its own breath too, the rusted benches, the flickering sodium lights, the long, empty platform disappearing into fog. The suitcase sat alone beneath the departures board, scuffed and ordinary, the kind people forgot every day. Then the K9's hackles rose. A low growl rippled from his chest, vibrating through bone and air. The handler felt it in his wrist, a warning older than training. Somewhere beyond the tracks, a freight horn moaned. Inside the suitcase, something waited. And in that moment, the station was no longer just a place where people passed through. The town of Brackenridge had been shrinking for decades, but the station endured out of stubborn habit. It sat where the river bent and the hills shouldered in, a brick and timber relic with a single platform and a departures board that still clicked by hand. Commuter service had ended years ago. Now only the midnight freight stopped twice a week, and even that felt ceremonial, like ringing a bell for the dead. Deputy Marshal Ethan Cole stood under the awning, rain stippling the concrete, watching his dog work. Rook was a black German shepherd with a pale scar nicking his left ear, an old injury from a training mishap that had made him skittish around metal stairs and fiercely attentive to the ground. Tonight, his nose traced the seams where platform met track, then lifted, sampling the air with a quickened breath. Ethan followed at a measured distance, leash loose, posture calm. Panic traveled down a leash faster than any scent. Inside the station, the night clerk, Marjorie Bell, fussed with a coffee that had gone cold an hour earlier. She had called it in when she noticed the suitcase. No tags. No one asking after it. It had been there since before dusk. People forget things, Ethan had told her when he arrived. Phones. Shoes. Once, a wedding dress. Marjorie hadn't laughed. "This feels different," she said, and she'd been right often enough that Ethan listened. Rook paused beneath the departures board. The sign clicked once, then stilled, Freight 12:17 a.m., delayed. The suitcase sat directly under it, as if placed with intention. It was a hard-shell roller, gray, scuffed at the corners, one wheel bent. Ordinary. The kind of ordinary that made people look away. Rook's body went rigid. Ethan felt the alert before he saw it, the sudden tension, the change in breathing. The growl was low and sustained, not fear, not aggression. "Focus." "Easy," Ethan murmured, though Rook didn't need it. He had already taken a half-step back, eyes locked, nose quivering. Ethan raised his hand. Marjorie froze mid-step. "Is that?" "Don't move," Ethan said. He reached for his radio. "Dispatch, this is Cole at Brackenridge Station. K9 alert on unattended luggage. Initiating protocol." The radio crackled. "Copy, Cole. Advise on specifics." Rook sat. That, more than the growl, tightened Ethan's chest. Sit meant confirmation. Sit meant the thing was not imaginary. "Possible explosive or hazardous material," Ethan said. He kept his voice level. "Requesting immediate lockdown." There was a beat, too long, and then the dispatcher's voice sharpened. "Understood. Lockdown authorized. State police and bomb squad en route. 8:30. 30 minutes was an eternity. 30 minutes was also a promise. Ethan turned to Marjorie. "We need to clear the building." Quietly. "Who's here?" she whispered. "Us," Ethan said. "And the station." They moved with the practiced choreography of drills done in empty gymnasiums. Ethan guided Rook backward, away from the suitcase, then angled him toward the exit. Marjorie flipped the sign to closed, her hands shaking just enough to notice. The station's doors thudded shut. The lights inside dimmed to emergency red. Outside, the fog thickened. It wrapped the platform and the tracks, turning the world into a narrow tunnel of visibility. Ethan led Rook to the perimeter and tied him off behind the patrol car, then returned to establish a cordon with yellow tape he kept for situations that rarely came. His phone buzzed. Caller ID, Lucas Hale. Ethan hesitated, then answered. "Lucas." "Tell me you didn't lock down the station," Lucas said. His voice carried the smoothness of someone used to being heard. "There's a K9 alert," Ethan said. "Protocol." "On what?" "A suitcase." A breath on the other end. "Ethan. Not the time." "Listen to me," Lucas said. "You don't want to make this bigger than it is." Ethan looked at the fog, at the red glow leaking from the station windows. He thought of the way Rook had Saturday. "I don't get to choose that." "You always think you don't," Lucas said. "I'll be there." The line went dead. Lucas Hale was Brackenridge's unofficial center of gravity. He owned the mill that employed half the town, the feed store that employed the other half, and the riverfront land everyone pretended not to see. He had been Ethan's friend since high school, his rival since forever. They had both left town. Only one had come back with money. Ethan pocketed the phone and set up cones at the access road. A pickup rolled in slow, headlights cutting through the fog. The driver rolled down the window. "What's going on?" "Station's closed," Ethan said. "Turn around." The man squinted past him. "That freight." "Delayed," Ethan said. "Please." The pickup turned, tires crunching on gravel. The night grew quieter, the way it did when a storm was deciding whether to break. Rook whined softly from behind the car. "I know," Ethan said, more to himself than the dog. 30 minutes stretched. The first state cruiser arrived with its lights dark, parking a respectful distance away. Sergeant Lena Ortiz stepped out, collar turned up, eyes taking in the scene. She and Ethan had worked together once, years ago, after a wildfire. She had a way of seeing through the story to the structure beneath. "Walk me through it," she said. Ethan did. He watched her watch the station, the suitcase invisible but present. "Any chance it's drugs?" she asked. Rook barked once, sharp. Then went still. "Explosives or chemical," Ethan said. "Could be both." Ortiz nodded. "We'll treat it as worst case." Another set of headlights appeared. Lucas's town car eased up to the tape and stopped. Lucas stepped out without waiting for permission, tailored coat already damp at the shoulders. "This is unnecessary," Lucas said, his gaze flicking to the station. "You're going to scare people." "It's locked down," Ortiz said. "Sir, you need to remain behind the tape." "I live here," Lucas said. "My people." "Sir," Ortiz said, and there was iron in it. Lucas smiled, the kind of smile that closed deals. "Ethan, talk to me." Ethan didn't move. "Step back." Lucas took a breath, then complied. "Fine. Then answer me this. Has anyone been hurt?" "No," Ethan said. "Then let's keep it that way," Lucas said. "I know that station. I know what gets left there." "What do you know about the suitcase?" Ortiz asked. Lucas's smile thinned. "Nothing." The bomb squad arrived in a matte black truck that hummed softly, like a held note. The technician, a woman named Park, suited up with methodical calm. She deployed the robot, its treads whispering as it rolled into the fog. Ethan watched the feed on Park's tablet as the robot entered the station. The red emergency lights painted everything like a wound. The suitcase came into view, alone under the departures board. "Zoom," Park said. The camera moved closer. The suitcase's shell bore faint scratches that weren't from travel. They were deliberate. Someone had scored the plastic and then buffed it down. "Any heat?" Ortiz asked. "Negative," Park said. "No obvious wires." "I'm going to X-ray." The image flickered, resolved. Inside the suitcase, shapes emerged, dense, irregular. Not clothing. Not books. Ethan's stomach tightened. "What am I looking at?" he asked. Park leaned in. Multiple containers. Cylindrical. Packed tight. "Explosives?" Ortiz asked. "Could be," Park said. "Or something worse." The radio crackled with chatter as additional units established a wider perimeter. The fog carried the sound, muffled and strange. Lucas watched the tablet, face unreadable. "You're making a mistake," he said softly. Ortiz turned to him. "Step back." Park maneuvered the robot's arm. The gripper tested the zipper. It didn't budge. "Locked," Park said. "I'm going to probe." The arm punctured the shell with a controlled spike. A hiss filled the tablet speakers. Rook barked again, a sharp alarm. Park swore under her breath. "We have pressure." "Back it off," Ortiz said. "Too late." A thin mist escaped the puncture, swirling in the red light. It dissipated quickly, but the smell, sharp, metallic, seemed to punch through the screen. Park's face drained. "We need to evacuate further." "No." "What is it?" Ethan asked. "I'm not saying yet," Park said. "But if it aerosolizes." The station's lights flickered. The departures board clicked. Freight 12:17 a.m. arriving. The horn sounded close, impossibly close. Ortiz's radio exploded with voices. "Train inbound, repeat, train inbound." Ethan turned toward the tracks. Through the fog, a wall of steel loomed, headlights blazing. The freight had not been delayed. It had been silent. "Stop it!" Ortiz shouted into her radio. The engineer leaned on the horn, brakes screaming. The train shuddered, sparks spraying as wheels fought steel. Inside the station, the mist thickened, then thinned. The robot froze, its feed jittering. Park stared at the screen. Signals dropping. Ethan's phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He answered. "Cole." "You did exactly what we needed," a voice said, distorted. "Thank you." The line went dead. The train screeched to a halt short of the platform, its momentum carrying it to a trembling standstill. Silence crashed down, heavy and absolute. Park looked up. "We've lost the robot." Ortiz turned to Ethan. "We need eyes." Ethan already knew what she was asking. He glanced at Rook, who stood alert, muscles coiled. "No," Lucas said sharply. "You are not sending a man in there." Ethan met his gaze. "I'm sending a dog." Lucas's jaw tightened. "That suitcase." "Say it," Ortiz said. "If you know something, say it." Lucas looked away, toward the fog, toward the town beyond it. "There are things you don't move quietly," he said. "And things you don't leave unattended." Ethan unclipped Rook's leash. The station doors yawned open, red light spilling onto the platform. Ethan and Rook crossed the threshold together, the air inside cooler, metallic. The suitcase sat where it always had, ordinary and terrible. Rook advanced, slow, deliberate. He stopped, sat again, then looked back at Ethan. "Good boy," Ethan whispered. He moved closer himself, heart hammering. The hiss had ceased. The puncture glistened. Ethan's phone buzzed in his pocket, insistent. He ignored it. As he reached out, the departures board clicked one final time. Ethan did not touch the suitcase. He held there instead, one hand hovering inches from the scuffed shell, listening to the sound of his own breathing inside the station's hollow chest. The red emergency lights pulsed, slow and funereal. Somewhere above, a loose cable ticked against metal, a tiny, insistent sound that felt too loud. Rook's ears were forward, body angled, ready. His eyes flicked once toward the puncture the robot had made, then back to Ethan. Not fear. Calculation. Outside, Ortiz's voice crackled faintly through Ethan's earpiece. "Cole, report." "I'm inside," Ethan whispered. "No visible dispersal. Whatever vented has settled." "Do not approach further," Ortiz said. "Bomb squad is re-establishing signal." Ethan's phone buzzed again in his pocket. He ignored it. The unknown caller could wait. The suitcase could not. He took a slow step closer. The smell was unmistakable now, ozone and cold metal, undercut with something organic, like damp soil. Not explosive, not chemical in the way training manuals described. It reminded him of the river in winter, when the ice broke and released what had been trapped beneath. Rook shifted, placing himself between Ethan and the suitcase. "I know," Ethan murmured. "Just a look." He crouched, angling his head to see the lock. It was not a standard TSA mechanism. The cylinder bore faint tool marks, the kind made by someone who knew how to defeat locks and chose not to. There was intent in that restraint. "Cole," Ortiz said, sharper now. "State lab confirms preliminary traces. You need to get out." "Traces of what?" Ethan asked. A pause. "Biological." Ethan's pulse spiked. "Pathogen." "Unknown," Ortiz said. "That's all we have." Rook growled again, low and steady. His gaze was fixed not on the suitcase but on the far end of the station, where the fog pressed against the glass like a living thing. Ethan followed his look. At first, he saw nothing. Then a shape resolved, a silhouette moving beyond the platform, just outside the red-lit interior. A person, keeping to the shadows between the station and the idling freight cars. "Ortiz," Ethan said quietly. "I think we have company." "What?" Ortiz said. "All units accounted for." The shape slipped behind a support column. Ethan stood, drawing his sidearm. "Rook, stay." The dog did not move. Ethan edged toward the doors, keeping the suitcase in his peripheral vision. The station felt suddenly smaller, its walls closer, its exits farther away. He pushed the door open a fraction. Fog poured in, cold and wet. The platform beyond was empty. No footsteps, no movement. The freight train loomed on the tracks, its engine ticking as it cooled, a giant animal at rest. "Cole," Ortiz said. "Get out. Now." Ethan stepped onto the platform. The world outside had changed while he was inside. The fog had thickened, swallowing sound. The yellow tape sagged, beaded with moisture. The silhouettes of patrol cars were vague, unreal. "Ethan," Lucas called from somewhere to his left. "Don't do this." Ethan turned. Lucas stood behind the tape, hands visible, his face pale in the headlights. "You need to tell me what you know," Ethan said. Lucas shook his head. "Not here." "Now," Ethan said. "Because my dog alerted, and a robot punctured something it shouldn't have, and someone is moving in my fog." Lucas's jaw worked. "You remember the land deal by the river?" he asked. Ethan did. Everyone did. The parcel Lucas had bought for pennies after the mill closed, the one that had made him a king in a town that hated kings. "That land was never clean," Lucas said. "Long before the mill, before the station. Things were buried there." "Waste?" Ethan asked. "People," Lucas said. The word hung between them. "Cold War," Lucas continued. "They called it storage. Temporary. Then the company folded. Records vanished. The town forgot." "And you remembered," Ethan said. Lucas smiled without humor. "I was shown." A shout cut through the fog. Ortiz's voice, closer now. "Cole, we're losing perimeter." Movement flickered at the edge of Ethan's vision. The silhouette again, closer this time. Then another. Shapes slipping between cars, boots quiet on gravel. "Who are they?" Ethan demanded. Lucas's eyes tracked the movement. "The ones who came to collect." The freight engine coughed. Lights flickered on in the cab. The engineer leaned out, shouting something Ethan couldn't hear. "Ortiz," Ethan said. "We have unauthorized personnel on site." "I see them," Ortiz said. "Units converging." The shapes broke into a run. Ethan moved without thinking. He whistled once, sharp. Rook burst from the station, a black blur against the fog, barking as he went. The figures scattered, one vaulting between cars, another sprinting toward the access road. "Rook!" Ethan shouted. "Track!" The dog veered, choosing the runner angling toward the river. Ethan followed, lungs burning, boots slipping on wet concrete. He rounded the corner of the station and nearly collided with Ortiz, who had her weapon up, eyes hard. "Down!" she shouted. A shot cracked, deafening in the fog. The runner stumbled, fell, skidded to a stop near the edge of the platform. Rook was on him in an instant, teeth bared but not biting, a living barrier. The man raised his hands, gasping. He wore dark clothes, no insignia, his face obscured by a hood. When he spoke, his accent was wrong for Brackenridge. "Easy," Ortiz said, moving in. "You're done." "Not him," the man said hoarsely, nodding toward the station. "The suitcase. What about it?" Ethan asked. "It's compromised," the man said. "You punctured containment." Ortiz cuffed him. "Who sent you?" The man laughed weakly. "No one you can arrest." A second shot rang out, farther away. Radio chatter spiked. "We lost one," a voice said. "They headed toward the river." Ethan's mind raced. "Ortiz, they're here for the suitcase." "I know," she said. "And we're not letting them take it." A siren wailed in the distance. Volunteer fire, maybe, or an ambulance called preemptively. The sound seemed to thin the fog, slicing it into layers. Ethan's phone buzzed again. This time, he answered. "Stop calling." "Too late," the distorted voice said. "You should have walked away." "Who are you?" Ethan demanded. "Someone who cleans up," the voice said. "And you just made our job harder." The line went dead. Ortiz grabbed Ethan's arm. "We need to secure that station. Now." They moved back toward the doors. Inside, the red lights pulsed faster, as if the building sensed the urgency. The suitcase sat untouched, the puncture dark. Park met them at the threshold, helmet off, sweat plastering her hair to her forehead. "We re-established partial signal," she said. "The contents are degrading." "Meaning?" Ortiz asked. "Meaning whatever was keeping it stable is failing," Park said. "Temperature, pressure, take your pick." "And if it fails?" Ethan asked. Park looked at him. "Then we have a problem bigger than Brackenridge." Lucas hovered just outside, face drawn. "You can't let them take it," he said. "But you also can't keep it here." Ethan rounded on him. "You knew." Lucas flinched. "I suspected." "You built on that land," Ethan said. "You put people there." Lucas's eyes filled, just briefly. "I put food on tables." "By burying secrets," Ortiz said. "We're done talking." Another shout echoed from the far end of the platform. "Movement! 2 o'clock!" A figure emerged from the fog near the freight engine, dragging something heavy. Another followed, covering him. "They're going for the train," Ethan said. Ortiz cursed. "If they load that suitcase." "They won't," Ethan said. He sprinted. Rook was already moving, breaking from his downstay with a bark that split the night. The dog slammed into the lead figure, sending both skidding. The second raised his weapon. Ethan fired. The shot went wide, pinging off steel. The man returned fire, the muzzle flash brief and blinding. Ethan dove behind a stack of pallets, heart hammering. "Cole!" Ortiz shouted. "Fall back!" Ethan popped up, fired again. The man stumbled, dropped his weapon, vanished into the fog. Rook stood over the fallen figure, growling, teeth inches from the man's throat. The suitcase lay a few feet away, its handle snapped off, the shell cracked further from rough handling. A thin mist leaked from the seam. Park skidded to a stop beside it, swearing. "It's accelerating." "What is it?" Ethan demanded. Park swallowed. "It's a vector." Ortiz's eyes narrowed. "A what?" "Not a bomb," Park said. "A delivery system. Old tech. They were moving samples." "Samples of what?" Ethan asked. Park looked at the suitcase, at the fog, at the town beyond. "Something that shouldn't still exist." Lucas sank onto a bench, hands shaking. "My father worked at the mill," he said quietly. "Before it was a mill. He told me stories. Men in suits. Warnings. Why didn't you say anything?" Ethan asked. Lucas laughed bitterly. "Who would have listened?" The freight engine revved, the engineer shouting. "We need to move." "No!" Ortiz yelled. "You stay put." The engineer hesitated, then nodded, killing the engine again. Rook backed away from the suitcase, whining. "Ethan," Ortiz said. "Decision time." Ethan looked at the station, the town, the fog. He thought of the river, of what lay beneath its surface. He thought of the people asleep in their houses, unaware. "We can't keep it here," he said. "And we can't let them take it." Park nodded. "We can neutralize it." "How?" Ortiz asked. Park met Ethan's eyes. "By opening it." Silence fell. "You said puncturing it was bad," Ethan said. "It was," Park said. "But full exposure, controlled, might stop the degradation. Or it might release everything." "Those aren't odds," Ortiz said. "They're the only ones we have," Park said. Lucas stood. "Do it," he said. "End it." Ethan stared at him. "This ends you too." Lucas nodded. "I know." Another radio call cut in. Unidentified units withdrawing toward the river. "We're losing them." Ethan made his choice. "Ortiz," he said. "Clear the platform. Park, suit up. Rook stays with me." They moved fast. The platform emptied, the fog swallowing the retreating shapes. Park sealed her helmet, hands steady despite the stakes. Ethan knelt by the suitcase, Rook at his side. The dog pressed close, warmth solid and real. "You ready?" Park asked. Ethan nodded. "Do it." Park cut the lock. The suitcase opened with a sigh. Inside, nestled in foam, were glass cylinders, old, thick, etched with faded warnings. One was cracked, its contents glowing faintly in the red light, alive in a way that made Ethan's skin crawl. Park's voice was calm, professional. Containment breach confirmed. The fog surged, as if drawn in. Rook barked, a sharp, urgent sound. Outside, the river answered, its dark water rising against its banks. The suitcase did not explode. It breathed. A slow, rhythmic release, like lungs testing damaged ribs. The cracked cylinder pulsed once, faintly luminous, then dimmed. The fog in the station shifted, drawn inward, curling toward the open case as if recognizing an old command. "Everyone back," Park said, voice tight but steady. "Now." Ethan did not move. Rook pressed closer, his body a solid line against Ethan's leg. The dog's eyes never left the suitcase. "Cole," Ortiz barked. "That's an order." "I'm already where I need to be," Ethan said. Park's gloved hands hovered over the case. Inside, the cylinders were labeled in a script so faded it was almost decorative. Cyrillic letters. Dates from the late 1960s. Warning symbols that predated modern standards. "Cold War stock," Park said quietly. "Experimental. Abandoned before protocols caught up." Lucas stood at the edge of the platform, face gray. "My father said they buried mistakes," he murmured. "Not bodies. Mistakes." The cracked cylinder let out another sigh. The glow intensified, just a fraction. "Park," Ortiz said. "Options." Park swallowed. "We stabilize temperature and pressure, reseal, transport to a secure facility. Or," she hesitated, "we neutralize on site." "And neutralize means?" Ethan asked. Park met his eyes through the visor. "Fire." Silence followed. Even the fog seemed to pause. "You burn it," Lucas said. "Here." "Yes," Park said. "Controlled incineration. It will destroy the agent." "And the station?" Lucas asked. "Collateral," Park said. "Likely." Lucas laughed once, hollow. "Of course." Ortiz rubbed her temple. "Town council is going to." "There is no town council at 3 in the morning," Park said. "There is only risk management." Another radio crackled to life. "Sergeant Ortiz, unidentified group has crossed the river. We lost them in the wetlands." Ortiz closed her eyes briefly. "Copy." Ethan looked at the station, its peeling paint, the bench where he'd waited as a boy, the board that still clicked by hand. He thought of his mother waving from that platform when he left for the academy, her smile brave and thin. "Do it," he said. Lucas stepped forward. "I'll help." Ortiz blocked him with an arm. "No." "This is my mess," Lucas said. "Let me stand with it." Ortiz studied him, then looked at Ethan. Ethan nodded. "He stays behind the line." Lucas obeyed, stopping just outside the hazard perimeter. He straightened his coat, as if preparing for a photograph that would never be taken. Park worked quickly. She placed charges, small, precise, around the suitcase, rigged to burn hot and fast. "Once we initiate," she said, "there's no abort." Rook whined softly. Ethan knelt, resting his forehead against the dog's. "You did good," he whispered. Park raised her hand. "Clear." Ortiz raised her radio. "All units, evacuate to secondary perimeter." "This is not a drill." Ethan backed away, step by careful step, until Ortiz pulled him behind a concrete barrier. Lucas stood alone at the edge of the platform, eyes fixed on the suitcase. "Lucas," Ethan called. "Come back." Lucas shook his head. "Someone should watch it end." Park's finger hovered over the trigger. The fog thinned, drawn toward the center of the platform. The river's murmur grew louder, impatient. Park pressed. Fire bloomed, not an explosion, but a sudden, furious white heat. The suitcase vanished in a roar that sucked the air from the station. The glass cylinders shattered, their glow flaring once before being swallowed by flame. The fog recoiled, tearing away from the platform in ragged sheets. The station screamed. Windows blew outward, raining shards that glittered briefly before disappearing into darkness. The departures board burst, letters scattering like dead leaves. The roof sagged, then collapsed inward with a sound like a final breath leaving a body. Ethan shielded Rook, the heat washing over them in a wave that left his ears ringing. When the noise stopped, there was only the crackle of dying fire and the distant rush of the river. Smoke rose where the station had been, thick and black, carrying the bitter scent of burnt plastic and something older, sharper. Fire crews moved in, hoses hissing, steam billowing as water met heat. Ethan stood, legs trembling. He searched the platform. Lucas lay on the concrete near the edge, thrown back by the force. Ethan ran to him, dropping to his knees. "Lucas," he said. Lucas's eyes were open. He coughed once, a wet sound. "Did it work?" he asked. Park approached, visor streaked with soot. She scanned the area with a handheld sensor, its screen flickering. "Readings are dropping," she said. "Rapidly." Ethan exhaled. Lucas smiled faintly. "Good. You should have moved," Ethan said. Lucas shook his head. "I spent my life moving things I shouldn't. This felt right." Sirens wailed closer now, a rising chorus. Firefighters shouted to one another. Ortiz coordinated, voice calm, authoritative, as if this were just another long night. Lucas's breathing slowed. He looked past Ethan, toward where the station had stood. "My father used to bring me here," he said. "Said trains were promises. You got on, you went somewhere else." Ethan swallowed. "You could have gone anywhere." "I did," Lucas said. "I just never left." His eyes closed. Ethan checked for a pulse. There was one, faint but present. "Medic!" he shouted. They came running, lifting Lucas onto a stretcher, oxygen mask hissing. As they wheeled him away, Lucas's hand slipped from the side, fingers brushing the concrete one last time. The fire burned down to embers. Dawn crept in at the edges of the sky, pale and tentative. The fog lifted, revealing the damage, the station a blackened shell, the platform scarred, the tracks warped but intact. The freight train remained, silent witness. Its engineer stood beside it, hat in hand, eyes wide. Ortiz approached Ethan. "State is taking over," she said. "Federal, too. This will be sealed, classified, buried." "Again," Ethan said. Ortiz nodded. "Different this time." Rook sat at Ethan's side, tongue lolling, soot smudging his muzzle. Park joined them, helmet under her arm. "You did the right thing," she said. Ethan looked at the ruins. "It didn't feel right." "It rarely does," Park said. "But it mattered." As the sun rose, townspeople gathered at the perimeter, faces drawn, questions forming. Ortiz addressed them with careful words about an accident, a fire, an investigation ongoing. They listened, some believing, some not. Ethan stood apart, Rook leaning against his leg. He felt older than he had the night before. An ambulance pulled away, siren low, carrying Lucas toward a hospital an hour away. "Will he make it?" Ethan asked a medic as they passed. The medic hesitated. "He's alive," she said. "That's all I can say." By mid-morning, the smoke had thinned. The river flowed on, indifferent. Crews began dismantling the perimeter, rolling up tape. Ortiz clasped Ethan's shoulder. "Take the rest of the day," she said. "You earned it." Ethan nodded. He walked Rook down toward the river, away from the noise. The path was muddy, the air clean after the burn. Birds returned cautiously, testing the morning with tentative calls. At the water's edge, Ethan stopped. He threw a stick. Rook hesitated, then bounded after it, splashing joyfully, as if the night had not happened. Ethan watched him, a tightness in his chest easing. The station was gone. The secret was ash. The town would rebuild, or it wouldn't. Life would adjust around the absence, as it always did. Ethan turned back toward Brackenridge, toward paperwork and questions and a future that felt uncertain but honest. Behind him, the river carried away what remained.